Welcome to For Your Info.
En inglés.
You got it. All right, my amigos, and welcome to this, the very first episode of FYI. That's right, For Your Info, but really, those of you who are learning English, it's also for Your Inglés. So welcome to my new podcast. I'm really excited about it, and I'm so glad that you're here for this milestone, esta hazaña. It's always nice. Firsts are always amazing. So I hope you guys are ready, because we're going to learn so much more than English on this podcast. We're going to learn about a wide range, right? Wide is amplia, a wide range of different interesting, or I would even go as far as saying fascinating topics. So get ready, guys, to expand your horizons while we learn English and delve into. To delve into something is to go deeper, to delve into some of the most fascinating topics out there. And guys, don't forget, I want your suggestions. In fact, on social media, I've been getting so many amazing suggestions, so thank you so much. I plan on doing them all. If this show goes well, if you guys like it, I plan on doing it. Every single one of them, all right? So keep sending us your suggestions. I was like, wow, why didn't I think of that? So thank you so much. We'd love to do any suggestions, anything that you may find interesting, because I'm sure other people will find it interesting, as well as the English that goes along with it. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the structure, about how this podcast works. All right, now this podcast is divided into two parts. Okay, so you have your first part of the podcast, which is like all the rest of my content on social media and everywhere else is totally and absolutely free. We're going to learn about the history of these topics. We're going to learn about fun facts, statistics, all kinds of different things to learn about these topics while we learn about our English. But then there's a second part. Okay, now this second part of the show, this is exclusive. It's exclusive content, and it's exclusively for my Patreon subscribers. Now, those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it's just a way of helping people who create content, artists, etc., and you help support them. Now, I'm not charging you for content. Let me make something really clear here. In fact, I've never charged you for anything except my books, well, because that costs money to make. I wish I didn't have to charge you for those either. But as many of you know, I've been making content for over a decade. If you guys want to subscribe, I want to have additional amazing content for our subscribers. If you'd like to support me, what I do, if you like my videos, my podcasts, you can be a monthly subscriber. There are all different kinds of levels. You can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com. Patreon se escribe en español. Patreon.com/ and / remember is barra. And then my name, Alberto Alonso, and you can see what it's all about. But basically, being a subscriber, you're always going to get free content from me. Don't worry. You're always going to get free content. But, now many of you know, I have a family, and, it takes a lot of time to make these videos and these audios. I love doing it. Well, a few people had suggested, and that's the way everything good happens in life, I believe. People saying, hey, you should do this. I listen to suggestions. I recommend, you also have to be careful where the suggestions are coming from. So don't listen to every suggestion. But I listened to this advice that many people gave me, and so I started a Patreon page. So take a look at it. It's not that I'm charging for content, but basically I'm going to keep producing tons of content, this podcast included, plus videos and so many other things. And as a way of saying thank you to the people who are helping to support me, my Patreon members, my subscribers, the inner circle of my community, I want to give you guys additional content. So at the end of this, the second part of the show, there'll be a class and, tons of other things that you're not gonna want to miss. And guys, let me tell you something. If you can't afford it, let me know. I'll give you the content for free, right? I'm not trying to do this to make money, but it does take a lot of my time. I love doing it, and every day that I'm making a video or an audio or something like that, I'm not teaching a class or something like that. So members, Patreon subscribers, as a way of saying thank you, you are going to get so many different things. Special, in fact, the people on the highest tier, el nivel más alto, every month I'm going to raffle off, sortear, to raffle off a 1-hour class with me. So check it out. It's patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. This way you won't miss any content. You'll get a second bonus part to this podcast and to many other materials that I'll be sharing throughout these next coming months. All right, guys, so thank you. And today we're going to look at a topic that I love. It's near and dear to my heart. It's everywhere, from the Bible to Beowolf. That's right, that early literary piece, Beowulf. There's wine making. The Bible, if you remember, in the Bible, they talk of wine. So it's part of our milestones, parte de nuestras hazañas, our celebrations, from communions to carnival. Guys, join me as we discover the wonderful world of wine. Cheers, or as we say in New York, salud. Why did I decide to choose wine? Well, I think being a Spaniard myself and having Italian blood, well, wine is, in my blood. Spain, Italy. And in fact, speaking of wine as blood, many of you know wine has often been compared to blood, going back to that biblical sense as well, right? But wine is such a great thing. I'm not promoting alcohol here, guys. Don't get me wrong. No me malinterpretes. But wine has been a part of our celebrations. We give it as gifts, right? How many times have you gotten a bottle of wine from someone, right? Most importantly, and this is one of my favorite things about wine, is it's meant to be shared, right? Wine is something you're supposed to sit down and share, maybe even a meal, right? A nice meal, a bottle of wine, and it can be romantic, it can be a family dinner, but it's meant to be shared. So that's part of the beauty of wine. That's part of the attraction of wine, in my opinion. And also, my roots are in Almeria. So my family, we have farmland, right? Tierra. We have farmland, and we have grapes over there. In fact, my uncle, my godfather, mi padrino, Paco, he makes his own homemade wine. So I've always been fascinated with wine. Wine's always been everywhere. And if you're Spanish, well, I think you could probably say the same thing. Like it or not, it is everywhere. So speaking of roots, today we're going to try and trace the roots of wine, las raíces. So where did wine come from? Now, the easy answer would be Spain, right? Or France or Italy, one of these very famous wine-producing countries, right? Spain with their Ribera del Duero, or France with their Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon. Pardon my French. Pardon my French es una expresión que decimos cuando vamos a decir una palabrota. When we're going to say a bad word, we say pardon my French. So pardon my French pronunciation, I should say, to be more specific. And then Italy, if you want a nice Chianti or something like that. So no, it's not Spain. It's not France. It's not even Italy. Nope. We have to go back to 6000 BC. Now, 6000 BC is, we say in English, you say AC. Me encanta que en español es AC/DC. Chulísimo. In English, it's before Christ, right? And that's anything antes de Cristo, right? AC, before Christ. And then we say AD, which is Anno Domini. I believe it's Latin for in the year of our Lord, right? So we got to go way back to 6000 BC. Hace en español. And where do you think it started? Where did almost everything start? One of the most ancient civilizations there, China. Now, were they making what we know as wine today? No. But were they fermenting things and making alcoholic beverages? You bet. Of course they were. Yeah. They were fermenting honey and fruit, right? Fruit. No fruit, fruit. So they were fermenting honey. And well, this started to spread like many good things. You know, people say, wait, this stuff tastes pretty good. And, well, I'm feeling a little buzzed. Tengo el puntillo. I'm feeling a little buzz. So it started to spread. It spread to the Middle East, places like Georgia, Iran as well. And then we fast forward to 3000 BC. So 3,000 years forward. So this is, think about how long wine has been with us, or something similar to wine, a predecessor of wine. It's been there through every major war, every battle. In fact, in the second part of the show, we're going to show you what wine has to do with the Declaration of Independence in the United States. We'll take a look at that after the break. But right now, we're going over to Egypt, 3000 BC. Be careful, because a lot of my students say Egypt. It's not Egypt, it's Egypt. Now, in Egypt, in 3000 BC, they were the first pros, los primeros cracks, the first pros. Why? Well, they were the first ones to label the wine, right? To label es etiquetar. And they would put the label, they would put the year, very important, right? And the maker, so the owner, the person's name who made this wine. And they also started storing it. To store is almacenar. That's why storage is almacén, right? A storage space es un almacén, you could say. They started to store wine. And back then, for the Egyptians, it was alchemy. They were taking one thing and making something new. And this is why it was a privilege in Egypt that was reserved for the pharaohs, los faraones. But as we said before, wine has always been associated with the gods. We said in the Bible. In fact, some people call it the nectar, el jugo, right? The nectar of the gods. Think of other gods too, Dionysus, right? Or Bacchus in Rome, as they called him, right? Dionysus, the god of wine and fertility. So it's been a part of our lore. It's been a part of our weddings. It's been a part of our celebrations, right? And then now we're going way ahead to 200 AD. So Christ was born 200 years ago. Enter the Romans. Como no? How are we going to talk about wine and not have the Romans involved? All right, so enter the Romans. Now, what was important about the Romans' contribution? Wooden barrels. They started putting it in barrels. Think about that. 6,000 years, 6,200 years has gone by. And nobody said, well, let's put it in a wooden barrel. And now you think it's commonplace. When you think of wine, you think of a wooden barrel, right? And this made it easier to transport. Remember, each of these breakthroughs, avances, had an advantage. It led to the spreading of wine and wine culture, right? So the Romans, leave it to the Romans. And now, we hear about oak, roble, oak barrels. There are over 400 different oak species, right? Especies. Yeah, especies. Available for wood for wine barrels. So that's, from not using them at all to now it's like a science, it's an art as well. Now we go to 1000 AD in the wine timeline, and we go to a place called Chateau de Goulan. Again, please forgive my French pronunciation. Obviously, this is in France, and this is a family-owned winery. Now, remember, a winery is where they make the wine, and a vineyard, que es literalmente la palabra viña o no, parra, y terreno, vineyard. No se dice vineyard, se dice vineyard. And that, that is one of the first, major wine producers, Chateau de Goulan. That was 1000 AD. The good news, they're still in business today. You guys are thinking, all right, well, cool, but we're missing a really important part here. What about the cork? El corcho? Well, that didn't come along until 1600 AD. It took thousands of years of drinking this stuff. I guess they drank too much to say, let's put something in there, something that'll kind of give and, can breathe a little bit, but not too much. And, the breakthrough in 1600 was cork. They started putting corks in their wine, and the bottles became stronger as well. Oh, and here's a little misconception, by the way. If you see someone in a restaurant sniffing the cork, they know nothing about wine. Because what does a cork smell like? You guessed it, cork. So what do you have to do? No, you don't smell the cork. You have to look at the cork. It's a visual thing. You look at the cork. Does it look okay? Is there wine everywhere or just on the tip, la puntita, where it needs to be? Are there holes in the cork? That's what you need to do. You need to look at it. 1830 now. We go to the year 1830. The modern wine bottle, the wine bottle we know today, was invented. So the cork came before the modern bottle. So you're thinking, what did they use? Well, I'm sure they used other kinds of bottles, but they also used goat skin bags. Okay, bolsas de piel de cabra, goat skin bags. Imagine going to buy some wine or going to a restaurant, an eatery, and saying, I'll have some wine, and they bring you a goat skin bag. Well, think about that in Spain, right? You guys have the goat skin bag. Now it makes sense. See? 1830, supposedly, until we got our modern, what we know as the wine bottle. And then the last breakthrough, which was incredible, it took so long to figure it out. They didn't know. All these thousands of years had gone by, and nobody knew what was happening. What was the chemical process? Why was this fermenting? What caused the fermentation? Enter Louis Pasteur, right? The pasteurization process. This same guy, that famous Pasteur guy, we've all heard of him when we look at our milk bottles. Well, he discovered that yeast was that mystery ingredient that was causing this fermentation. Yeast is levadura, okay? Levadura. We've got to finish up, but when we come back, we're going to look at a lot of different things. We've got so much in part 2 of the podcast, the exclusive content for our subscribers. So if you guys aren't subscribers, now's a good time to go subscribe. It's definitely affordable, and I would really appreciate it, and you're going to get tons of content. So really quickly, before we say goodbye in this part of the podcast, let's look at the different kinds of wine. So we've got white wine, obviously, that's blanco. Red wine, right? Red wine is tinto. Yo antes le decía rojo. Red wine. And then we have rosé or blush. Rosé or blush, right? Now, this is a good one because the word blush is sonrojarse, to turn red. So sometimes if you drink too much blush wine, you'll blush. And then the last one, which is like dessert wine, which is port wine. Port wine. All right? So those are the 4 types. Varieties? Over 10,000 varieties of wine grapes exist. So that could be like a whole series on the different varieties of grapes. But guys, there's a little tip of the iceberg, a little introduction to wine and some vocabulary around it. Now, guys, we're going to go to this commercial break here. As I said, for those of you who are not on Patreon, this is the end of today's show. Thank you so much for being here anyway. We love you. You're still going to learn no matter what. And Patreon subscribers, we'll be right back with the second half, where we're going to take a look at the world's most expensive bottle of wine. We're also going to take a look at how to order wine, right? Hey, you need to know how to order wine. And also, what do the U.S. Declaration of Independence and wine have to do with each other? All right, so guys, we're going to take a look at all that and much more in the second part of FYI. Hang on. Bring that music back in. How could I forget about my amigos? Special thanks to Augusto Hernandez for the song, Souvenir. Also, my amigo Nacho for lending me his voice and expertise in editing. Now, the show is officially over. See you next week. Tengo que reconocer que pudo mi curiosidad hacerte